wherever you want to talk sports.
Now it's time for Monty in the Morning.
Hey, yo, man, it is Monday, July 12th, 2021. And frankly, it hurts. My guy got benched last night.
Are you embarrassed?
He was terrible. But we're going to watch film and bounce back.
Right.
You know, you just got to put these games in the rearview mirror, make adjustments, and come back out. We'll talk about the Phoenix Suns blowing Game 3. My God. Devin Booker was awful. I ain't worried. We still put a ring on that finger. We've got to talk about an incredible Conor McGregor ankle snap. Do you like looking at those things?
Depends on the severity. The
Okay,
Conor one wasn't that bad.
Okay. Yeah, it was.
No, it was not.
He was standing on the bottom of his leg with his
right,
ankle
but it
pointed backward.
wasn't Chris Weidman dangling off around another dude's leg bad. You know? It wasn't Anderson Silva bad.
Do you enjoy... Answer the question! Do you enjoy looking at those things?
Sometimes.
Yes, you do, you sadist.
Sometimes.
You do like looking at those things, don't you?
Like sometimes. Like there are ones where it's like, oh man, that's gnarly.
Nah, man.
But then other times it's okay.
Nah, I'm not about that life. I am not about that life.
Conor is apparently.
You had no choice now. Man, you better take that calcium. Drink that milk, sir. We will talk Conor McGregor in the UFC. We will talk Traeger smokers. Oh, man. My good gracious. If you do not own a Traeger Ironwood 885, why even have sex? Because it's better than sex. I'm just telling you. Yeah, I'm telling you. Am I wrong? Well, you're
not wrong,
sex, so you don't know. Anyway, the point is.
Listen, it's been what has it been?
3.5 minutes.
And we've already got a I haven't had sex reference.
Well, hey, it's what we do on this show. We'll talk Traeger smokers. We'll talk pizza on smokers. Home run derby or slam dunk competition coming up. But first, we must start with a bad book. Devin Booker was terrible last night. 29 minutes, 10 points, 1 of 638 from the floor. This was a bad performance out of the Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker is the star of that team, and he is going to take most of the heat, as he probably should. He was a hero in Game 2 and a 0 in Game 3. And the big question now lingering over the Phoenix Suns is, can they bounce back in the NBA Finals to regain control? And when I say regain control, I think Game 4 is a must-win for the Phoenix Suns. You were up 2-0. The Bucks are feeling good about themselves now. But, Jake, I don't get the idea that this series is over and that all of a sudden the Suns can't beat the Bucks.
No, I think last night was one of those games for the Suns where you just didn't bring your best. I'm not going to say that you didn't show up, but because you had a nice start to the game, but you just didn't bring your best throughout the game. And whether you want to look at DeAndre Ayton's foul trouble, Devin Booker's awful shot selection, Chris Paul's turnovers. There's a number of things in this game that were head scratchers, that were basically just like outside of what they normally do, and that's why they lost by 20. I felt like early in the game they did a great job. You get out to a little bit of a lead. I think at one point they had a 5-point lead at the end of the first quarter, and you were like, all right, cool. We kind of survived that first wave on the road. We're off to this nice little start. Everything's cool. But then the second quarter hits and you get torched heading into halftime. Third quarter hits, you get hit with a run. You chop that down to 4 points. Then the Bucks answer you to close out the third. And the fourth quarter was basically garbage time the whole way. So I don't know what you say about it other than the fact that, the Suns just didn't show up. I'm not going to sit here and say that the Suns were tired. You had 3 days off. There's no way you could have been tired. So I just think, to me, this is one of those games where there are definitely things to work on. There are definitely takeaways. But let's not sit here and say that the Bucks somehow, have control of this series now and they're in the driver's seat. The series really hasn't even started yet. The home team has won every game so far. So let's wait and see what Game 4 has to hold.
Well, and I guess the bigger question is, what do you expect out of Devin Booker? This is somebody that I think is critical. And Monty Williams said it after the game that, they targeted Devin Booker, and I just don't think that that's that much of a surprise. Were you surprised with the way Monty Williams answered those questions?
I mean, I think that, anytime you lose a game in professional sports, the media is going to be like, oh, well, how do you deal with your best big man fouling out of the game, and how do you deal with Devin Booker going 3 of 14 from the field? Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna take him back to the woodshed and do something to him. What do you want the guy to say? I mean, he's gonna sit here and say that Devin Booker was targeted by the defense. I mean, I like, what major player is not targeted by the defense? I think. The real frustrating part for me is that the media, and we've had this conversation many a time on this show, right? Like, the media will not ask the question of, hey, why did Devin Booker not really play in the fourth quarter? What they'll ask is, hey, what did you think of Book's performance tonight? And then this is Monty Williams' answer to that.
Their aggression, their defense, they keyed on him. He missed some shots. So that's going to happen. He's been in this situation before, as you guys alluded to. When you get to the finals, it means you've been in a number of situations. So this is nothing new to us anymore. He'll bounce back.
What else do you want the guy to say?
I was, how do I put this mildly? I was shocked that nobody had the stones to say to Monty Williams, why did you bench Devin Booker in the fourth quarter?
Because that's what it was, right?
That's
not too far, right?
Yeah, he got benched. There's no, he did not play well. He was not, he went away from the game plan, Devin Booker, very clearly. And Monty kind of hinted at it after the game, saying that, hey, I told him that we got to be mentally tough. Okay, cool. But what you're saying is we went away from the game plan and we got our ass kicked.
Yeah.
And
because you did get your ass kicked. I mean, that was, yeah.
You can spin this, and I was tweeting last night, and a bunch of people were saying, well, this is just resting Book for Game 4. Okay, cool. I get that. He's played the most playoff minutes out of anybody. Totally understand that. It's the NBA Finals. You were down 20 going to the fourth quarter, and Devin Booker didn't play 1 second of the fourth quarter. 29 minutes last night. 10 points out of Devin Booker. You didn't give yourself a chance to win. And I wonder, was that raising the white flag? Well, it didn't feel like it because everybody but Devin Booker played.
Yeah.
I mean, Jake, is there any other way to spin this other than he got benched?
I don't think so. I mean, I think, without a definitive answer from, Monty Williams, without someone asking him and putting him in that position, just going off of what happened on the floor to what you were just saying, every other major player was playing. It wasn't like, he took Book out at the end of the third and then, a couple minutes go by in the fourth, and when it was, Book's time to come back in on regular rotation, Monty Williams waved the white flag. I mean, that's not what we saw. I mean, we saw, Chris Paul and the usuals played until about 4 minutes left in the game, and then garbage time officially started. So I don't know, man. I think that I don't think we need to be sitting here saying that Devin Booker somehow is no longer a star or something, but I do think that this Game 4 for him as a guy, as a player, as a leader in this locker room, you can't have 10-point games in the NBA Finals. That can't happen. And this is kind of the crossroads of where I feel like Devin Booker is right now as a player. He is this elite player, right? He is this guy who is a star in the league, or a superstar, whatever you want to call him. He's one of the best players in the league. But this is his first NBA Finals, and I don't think the moment was too big for him, but I also don't think right now he is experienced enough to, in the middle of a game, say, okay, listen, I started this game 1 of 7, just like I did in the prior game. I have to get to the basket. I have to get better shots. I have to get to the line. And that's what you see all the best players in the game do. Whoever you want to point to, when they're struggling to shoot the ball,
yes,
they get to the basket and they get to the line. And that's something that I think Devin Booker, and frankly, that this team needs him to do. Because again, we can have the officiating conversation if we want to, but the fact is they didn't get to the line almost at all last night.
But see, I'm not even the guy that's going to sit here and blame the officials. Yeah, the calls were, the non-calls against Giannis are embarrassing. Pulling down Cam Johnson's jersey, forearming guys in the back. They just didn't blow the whistle against Giannis. Is that the NBA wanting to have a longer series? Yeah, sure, it might be.
Yeah.
But, by the way, that's not why the Suns lost the game last night. The Suns lost the game because they didn't make shots.
Yeah.
The Suns lost the game because they didn't attack the basket. The Suns lost the game because Chris Paul wants to continue to throw between the leg, behind the back, over the head passes that go out of bounds and get picked off. Just stupid plays out of a veteran. And if we're talking about a guy with experience, guess what? Chris Paul's never been here either. So it's not like Chris Paul is blameless. It's not like Chris Paul has, all kinds of experience leading him to great performances in the NBA Finals because he's never been here before. And I think the thing that stands out to me most is this team, rises and falls with Devin Booker. As important as Chris Paul is and as wet as that mid-range is, I'm telling you, if Devin Booker doesn't score 25, 30 points, it's going to be a tough win for the Suns.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. I'll also say that DeAndre Ayton has to be better. And I know that he's the darling and that everybody loves DeAndre and he's had the breakout performance here, but I'm telling you right now, DeAndre Ayton is doing some things that are killing the Suns. Catch the basketball, my man. If you cannot catch the ball, you cannot play in the NBA. And DeAndre Ayton has a terrible habit of simply not catching the ball. And if you watch the games, he will bobble passes. If you throw it below his waist, forget it. He's not catching it. Last night, he dropped 2 passes, frankly, that were over his head. They were perfect passes for a big. They're right here for him to go up or dunk or lay up, whatever you want to do. And he straight missed them. And then the other plays that really stand out to you are that he just loses his man. DeAndre Ayton loses his man on defense.
Yeah.
No court awareness, no space awareness. And the other thing that really stood out to me about the Suns last night, they didn't have, it seemed, any idea of what the Milwaukee Bucks were trying to do to them with the Bucks offense. They didn't know what the Bucks were trying to do to them. And that is really surprising for a team that really has been on cruise control for, 3 rounds and has played really good basketball. It just looked like the Suns had no idea what to do defensively, and that was the most shocking thing last night.
Well, I think if you look at the difference between, every team that they've played versus the Bucks, the difference is that the Bucks have, whatever you want to call Giannis. Some people call him a big, others call him like a hybrid 4, whatever you want to call him. The Bucks have a guy in Giannis who can just punish you in the paint. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's more athletic. That's just what Giannis is. And I think, you look at the Clippers series for the Suns, and DeAndre Ayton was able to have his way with Zubats most of the time. Zubats had production in that series, but it's not like Zubats is a player that you're going to sit here and say is going to be series defining or anything, And if you go, further back, again, there's not a staple big man that was really able to do anything to the Suns. So I think this challenge that's in front of them is a little bit different than what they've seen. And yeah, I agree. DeAndre Ayton has to be better. I think that's just a fact of the case. But overall, I think, this whole thing for the Suns, I agree with you, begins and ends with Devin Booker. A lot of these shots last night that he's taking, again, are like contested threes or like not
tough shots.
Yeah, they're just not high percentage looks as people like to call it. So my whole thing would just be, I think that, last night they talked about after the game, prioritizing, getting Ayton the ball early and posting him up and getting him going. And I'm sitting here saying, you've got a guy in Book who can give you 40 or 50 when he gets hot. Like, why would you not get Devin Booker going early, get that jump shot in rhythm, get him going? And then DeAndre Ayton can have seconds. That's what I'd be doing.
Well, there's also Gabe Ledley in the comments brings up an interesting point. He said it was a Scott Foster cruise. So
yeah, there's this whole thing about Scott Foster about how the betting lines moved and like
no, it's 11 straight losses by Chris Paul teams when Scott Foster officiates a game.
Mm-hmm.
It's not and I was a little surprised, speaking of media, that last night Chris Paul. I think it was last night he did that. That Chris Paul He essentially just wouldn't answer the question about Scott Foster.
Yeah.
But I think we all know, I think it's like 11 or 12 straight games that he's lost when Scott Foster officiates the game. And Chris Paul's actually commented on it in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is, I don't think it's an accident anymore. And I am not a guy that believes in officiating conspiracy theories, even though, Tim Donaghy's been on our show a gazillion times talking about this.
Yeah.
I mean, do you believe that Scott Foster intentionally officiates games so Chris Paul loses?
I don't think it's to that level. I do think that officials and the NBA work to extend series. I do think that happens. And I think that they do that behind the cover of, hey, we're in Milwaukee now, so we're not going to call Giannis for pulling jerseys and forearming people and all that. But the truth of the matter is again, at the end of the day, and I said this about the Jazz, and I'll say it about the Suns. Like, we can sit here and use Scott Foster as an excuse, but the facts of the case are, if Chris Paul and Devin Booker both put up 25 to 30 points, they win games. If they don't, then they don't. It's literally that simple. So last night, when you're in foul trouble and Devin Booker's 1 of 7 to start the game, and he refuses to go to the basket, and Chris Paul's turning it over. None of that has to do anything with Scott Foster. The officiating has nothing to do with shot selection. So I just am not going to sit here and say that this whole Scott Foster thing is why they lost.
Yeah, well, and it is 12 straight games now, by the way. Driftwood says, turns out this could be a series. Mitchell's never been benched, just saying.
Yeah, but Mitchell's never been to the NBA Finals either.
Are we really going to do Devin Booker?
I told you this was going to come
Donovan
up.
Mitchell?
I told you before the show that this was going to come up in the comments.
Yeah, I think that's weak. Why do I keep reading comments? Says good morning. James Knight. Wow. James Knight says, give me a break. Don't buy into this Chris Paul crap. If it was a Jazz player that complaining, you guys would be shooting them down. Actually, I don't think Chris Paul complained about it. I think every one of the Suns last night basically said, we're not going to blame this on officiating. Monty Williams straight up said, I'm not going to get into a public, discussion about officiating.
Which is very different than what the Utah Jazz did, I might add.
Correct. The Suns, I think, just realized they were not aggressive. They were very passive in this game. And I think that's why you see stupid fouls. Like, it's so funny the impact that DeAndre Ayton's having on this Suns team. Like, if DeAndre Ayton wants to win an NBA championship, he's got to be violent. He's got to be aggressive. He has got to control the flow of what happens in the paint. And you have to be able to defend without fouling. And I think the thing that the Phoenix Suns struggled with last night is they could not defend without fouling. And I'll continue to say, hey, it's really cool that Giannis scored like 10,000 points in the paint last night. That's not about Giannis. That's about the Phoenix Suns. Mm-hmm. I mean, not having size because DeAndre Ayton is committing foolish fouls and Frank Kaminsky is having to play heavy minutes. It's pretty clear that the Suns are going to struggle if DeAndre Ayton's not on the floor in this series. I mean, so you have that last night. You have Devin Booker not shooting well. Was he benched? Is benching strong? All I know is he didn't play in the fourth quarter.
When's the last time Devin Booker didn't play a minute in the fourth quarter?
He was an able-bodied not playing. That, to me, says you were benched. And if that means that Monty was waving the white flag, okay, so be it. It is not surprising that the Milwaukee Bucks won on their home floor. It's not. And I would be stunned if a month from tomorrow, which is when I think we play Game 4, why are there 3 games off?
I don't know, dude. I don't get it.
Man.
I really don't get it. I don't like it. I think that, and this is why I say, back to the officiating thing, if you look at the total package with how the NBA handles these series, especially the NBA Finals, you start to get an understanding that they want to elongate these series. I'm not somebody who believes that, we'll just use Scott Foster as an example this time, but like, I'm not a guy who believes that guys like Scott Foster wake up and say, hey, I'm going to intentionally officiate this game so Chris Paul loses.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's that personal for them. I think it's more, hey, we're collectively as a unit, the 3 of us are going to officiate this game in an effort to, give the Bucks the advantage so that we can elongate this series. So that's why I say, I don't think it's personal, But you take the officiating standpoint, you then look at the way the league office schedules the finals themselves, having 3 days off between games, and you just start to understand, they want this to eat up as much of July as they can possibly get because they're going to be off for a while.
Yeah, but the funny thing is you have an entire offseason of events because of how late the finals are now. Like, I mean, if you think about how different the schedule is, and if you think about, like, we're 3 weeks away and really 2.5 weeks away from NBA free agency.
Yeah.
I mean, the draft is coming up, free agency's coming up.
Well, they want to be the NFL. Let's not beat around the bush. I mean, they want, so like the NFL has something going on year round. There's always conversations, whether you look at the Aaron Rodgers situation, the NFL draft, free agency, OTAs, mini camp, like all this stuff that goes on in the NFL. And the NBA is trying to be that. And I get it. But at the same time, you're just dragging this thing out. And that's why I say last night, the excuse of, not that this is getting run out by the Suns or anything, but like I saw some people saying, oh, the Suns just looked tired. They didn't have, they just didn't have it last night. And I'm sitting here saying, dude, like you had 3 days off. What do you mean you're tired? Like, what does that even mean? I mean, it's the NBA Finals. You had 3 days off. And the more shocking part is with those 3 days off, you look completely unprepared. You looked incompetent last night.
And one of the things that really stands out to me is that I just think Monty Williams is a really good coach. Yeah. And it is stunning to me that they just look that ill-prepared.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best way to say it. They were not. And Monty Williams did talk about that last night. You can find it on YouTube where he said, hey, we knew what was coming, but we just weren't prepared for it. We had no answers for how desperate they were going to play. And that's the word that I think you have to use last night. This was a must-win game for the Bucks. Everybody realizes that, right? Like, you're down 2-0, you lose game 3, this series is definitely over at that point. So you had to win last night. So now I think, game 4 is really where the rubber meets the road for this series. Game 4, I would expect the Suns to play a lot better. I would expect Devin Booker to be on a mission, and I would expect them to win, but we'll see.
Is comparing Giannis to Shaq a fair comparison? Because I just don't think it is. And maybe I'm biased because I covered Shaq in his prime. I have a lot of respect for him. I've never seen anybody be as dominant as Shaquille O'Neal was. And I just don't see that Giannis is the same player. I don't see that Giannis has the tool bag. I don't see that Giannis has the abilities that Shaq had. And I think that Giannis is I mean, his numbers are impressive, sure. I am not impressed by Giannis. I think the Suns are a very small team. I think that Giannis is, in my opinion, doing everything that he can do to win a championship, and that's great. He's not Shaquille O'Neal. And I will never, I don't know that I'll ever in my lifetime see a player that is as dominant as Shaq was. Giannis is not as dominant as Shaq is. The funny thing is, Giannis doesn't have the offensive game that Shaq had. Shaq actually had a little, hook shot, a jumper. Like, Shaq could actually score without dunking. Mm-hmm. And I just don't. Giannis has a turnaround fadeaway, but he has to be turning to his right to fade. That's really the only shot that he has. I don't know. I understand that Giannis is a very good player. And I'm not trying to disparage him at all. I just don't think he's the best all-around player in the NBA. Well, I'm amazed by the love affair that we are seeing with him.
Well, what are we talking about this morning, though? Like, think about this. Like, every time that anybody compares Giannis to any great player, like whether it's Shaq or otherwise, last night on the broadcast, they're comparing him to, LeBron and Michael and everything, like, which is just ridiculous to me. But anyway, that's a different conversation. But think about what the narrative of last night is and what really happened. The only reason Giannis is a talking point last night is because DeAndre Ayton was in foul trouble. Notice that Giannis hasn't really been a talking point.
No.
When DeAndre has been on the floor. And
all of a sudden his knee hurts when he's having a tough night.
Yeah.
His knee is. And that's my point. Like, look, and I'm not saying that the knee is not a problem. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that, it shouldn't be I think the bounce back from that kind of knee injury is nothing short of a miracle. What I'm telling you is Giannis is not as dominant as Shaq was. And I think he's doing it especially on nights where DeAndre Ayton's in foul trouble. The Suns don't have size.
Yeah.
The zone worked pretty well on Giannis. But it's guys like Cam Johnson, who's a second-year player, who has no idea what to do when he's the weak side help in a zone because you don't practice that scenario. You're just not playing that scenario very often. Giannis, to his credit, took full advantage of that. So, again, I'm not saying that Giannis should be discredited at all. I just don't think that, A, he hasn't won a championship yet. Let him win a ring, then maybe you can start comparing him to others. But I just, the love affair with Giannis on the whole, I've never understood this.
Well, and I think, and this is where I think Devin Booker has to get to, like Giannis, when you think about Giannis, he's not the reason the Bucks win or lose. And what I mean by that is that when he goes for 40 or 30 every single night, they win and they lose. Like, he's not the reason. He's not what decides their success.
Yeah,
last night,
I would agree.
Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton were what decided the Bucks' success when it mattered most, when DeAndre Ayton was in the game, when these teams were playing head up. All the garbage time points and all, after DA was out and all that stuff, that stuff doesn't even really, count to me because who's going to stop Giannis at that point? I mean, there's not going to be anybody that stops him.
Jake, but how are you not bringing up the unbelievable contribution of Bobby Portis?
Yeah, whatever, dude. I think that Bobby Portis had a nice moment last night. It is what it is. He's not, yeah.
That might be my least favorite player ever in the NBA.
He's a try-hard guy. He had his moment last night. It's fine.
Bobby. Like, shut up, Milwaukee. Like, you're chanting for Bobby. Do you realize you're chanting for Bobby Portis? Like, what? Hello? Do you know, Bass? It's Bobby Portis. That guy, anyway.
Don't you know who I am?
Yeah, you're Bobby Portis, which means you suck. Anyway. There is nothing likable about Wisconsin.
Nothing. F the Packers.
Okay, I lied.
F the Bucks.
The brat stop.
I want more brats.
There's one likable thing about Wisconsin, the brat stop.
I want more.
Other than that, not a whole lot of redeeming qualities.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, anyway. I should stop there.
Mm-hmm.
The Suns are going to win Game 4. I think it'll be 169-14. Will be the final score, and Devin Booker's
Rack attack!
Yeah, Devin's going to score 100 points, and then one of the Kardashian sisters will pleasure him.
You're so fucked.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Your thoughts on Game 4, Jake?
Yeah, I think it goes just like that. That sounds, 100% realistic.
Nailed it. Mitchell Harding says Booker was embarrassing bounce back time for sure.
Yeah, dude. Like see, and that's like, I was thinking about this. Like, what's the word to describe his performance? And I have to agree, embarrassing is I don't think is too strong. Like, I think it's the NBA Finals. You're you're a guy that has for the longest time, embraced and idolized Kobe and what he's about, and you've tried to be that guy. And this is your time. I mean, you have to show up. Like, I hate to say it, but again, with where he's at in his career and where his stature's at in the league, having 11-point NBA Finals games is not helping you. I mean, this Game 4 for Devin Booker as a player has the chance, if he does his thing, has the chance to be one of the best games he's ever played. But is he going to show up? Is he going to be stubborn and not settle for the jumper? Is he going to push the issue and get to the cup? And that's why I say, like, the point I was trying to get to. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to hit that. That was my bad. Finger slipped there.
Jeez, Jake.
My bad. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, point is, my point with Giannis and Devin is that guys like Devin, guys like Kobe, Michael, LeBron, KD, those guys decide their team's success. So last night, when Devin Booker puts up 11 points and doesn't play in
10
the fourth
points.
quarter, 10 points.
29 minutes.
Yeah, less. Whatever.
1 of 7 from 3, 3 of 14 from the
just
floor.
an embarrassing game. The Suns looked bad.
9 of 31 from 3 for the team.
Yeah, dude.
And by the way, 6 of 7 from Jay Crowder. And the team went 6 threes of the 9 made by the Suns were from Jay Crowder.
And then you look at Giannis and you're like, oh man, he put up 40 and a bunch of rebounds and all this stuff. And I'm like, cool, dude, he does that all the time. He's not why they win games. That's just what he gives you.
Well, the interesting thing about that theory is, which I agree with, I think you knew the Suns were in trouble when Chris Middleton got off early. When he's hitting threes and getting to the line, he finally shot a free throw in this series last night.
But that was like the other thing last night. How many open shots are you going to give Chris Middleton? How many times are you going to go under the screen?
I don't think you'll see a lot of that in Game 4. I think I think you just have to watch a little bit of film in this game and then let it go. This is the worst game, I might say, all season. Certainly in the postseason, this is the worst game that I've seen the Suns play in the Chris Paul era. I mean, I have not seen them look that bad, and not that like there just was a lack of fire.
Yeah.
Like they almost walked into that building last night. Yeah, we're going to lose this game.
Outside of the Cam Johnson dunk, I didn't really see much else to write home about.
Yeah, but even Cam Johnson, what was Cam Johnson, like 1 of 7 from 3 or something stupid like that? Cam Johnson last night was 1 of 5 from 3, 5 of 11 from the floor in 14 minutes, or 14 points in 30 minutes.
And yeah.
They're going to lose when you play that way. I think they win Game 4. I think it'll probably be 120, 110, 120, 116. Somewhere in that neighborhood.
My gut tells me that this Game 4 is going to be a lower scoring game, and I think this is going to be a battle of the best players getting theirs and not a high scoring game. That, like, to me, I think that's if you're the Suns, that's the kind of game you have to play. You can't have this shootout style of game and think that you're going to win on the road.
Well, I also think that role players don't play well on the road. Mm-hmm. And I again, in the redundancy department, I know I say that all the time, but I think you look at role players, again, not to keep going back to the box score, but Mikal Bridges, 27 minutes, 4 points, 0 of 2 from 3.
No free throws, right?
Mikal Bridges did not shoot a free throw. I look at Torrey Craig, 15 minutes, 2 points. Cam Payne last night, 25 minutes, 0 of 2 from 3, 3 of 10 from the floor.
How many layups can you miss if you're Cam Payne last night?
A lot of them. And then you go and you look at the role players for the Milwaukee Bucks at home. PJ Tucker, 7 points, 30 minutes, 3 rebounds, 2 steals, and assists.
And how many fouls? Does it tell you how many fouls he had?
Yeah, 5.
So for PJ Tucker, that's the metric you're trying to look at. How many fouls did he have versus how many minutes did he play? Last night he uses all 5 fouls, which is awesome. You want him using his fouls, and he played a lot of minutes. That's what you want out of him.
Yep, Pat Connaughton, 2 of 4 from 3, role player, 8 points. I look at Bobby Portis. Was a DNP in Game 2 of the series, if memory serves.
Yes.
18 minutes, 11 points, 8 rebounds.
Bobby Portis.
4 offensive rebounds. Like, role players play well at home. They do not play well on the road. And the Suns have largely been able to avoid that. They've played very well on the road. They're the best road team in the NBA. Well, and then you get to Game 3 and you didn't even get off the bus.
Not great.
So I think you just have to write this off. I really do. Hey, we are skyrocketing up the subscriber count
Meteorically.
stuff. We're at about 1,330 subscribers on this show. When we get to 1,500, we are going to give away this Xbox Series S with the Velocity architecture.
Whoa.
I don't even know what that could mean.
Razzle dazzle!
Exactly right. We're going to give this away. All you have to do is hit subscribe, take a screenshot that you're subscribed, and then tag both of us on Twitter or Instagram. He is SLC Supercars. I am The Monty Show. MONTY The Monty Show.
Here's the deal. I'm the best there is.
On Twitter or Instagram, just make sure you tag us both with a photo that you're subscribed and you're entered to win. A lot of people are not tagging. And it's cool. We love having you here. And if you're only here for the Xbox, hey, Mazel tov, right? I mean,
God
that's cool
bless.
too. Yeah, hey, thanks for being here. But you got to tag us on social in a photo that you're subscribed. That's the contest. Then we'll give this away when we get to 1,500 subscribers. Let's get some comments in here. A lot of people. Red Heart Norvis says Suns coaching staff prepared, but the players were not mentally prepared. Monty made adjustments, but it didn't work since the players were not up to it. Totally agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they came to the game half asleep.
Yep. Giggity says lived in Wisconsin for 5 years. Completely agree with you about them. I grew up like 20 minutes from the Wisconsin border. Trust me, nothing good happens.
Are
in
the
Wisconsin.
Dells worth it?
No.
No.
Those people don't wear deodorant. Are you kidding me?
Well,
The Dell family? No. The Wisconsin Dells.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. Those people don't wear deodorant either.
okay.
Wisconsin blows.
Anyway, all right.
I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, like Menominee Falls, just take an eraser and take it off the map. I mean, like Summerfest. Come on, you're overrated. You're not Taste of Chicago. You're never gonna be. Why are you trying? Anyway, James Knight says you wouldn't get Spider Mitchell going for 11 points. He dropped 35 on one leg.
Once again,
Stop.
what am I going to say about Donovan Mitchell? He's not what decides if they win or lose games, right? Think about it. Donovan Mitchell can give you 30 or 40, but at the end of the day, he is not what decides whether they win or lose a game, right? Mike Conley was what decided
Joe
it,
Ingles.
right? Joe Ingles, Bojan Bogdanovic, Rudy Gobert. Those guys decide if the Utah Jazz win games or not.
Terrence Mann.
You can stay and what's happening here is people are getting on Donovan Mitchell is better than Devin Booker train. Cool. I got news for you. When Devin Booker wins a ring, because they will win this series, you will be eating a massive crow sandwich. You will. You will.
But Donovan did really well in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, my ass.
All right, let's move on. Juan Carlos Quesada says, what is your prediction for Game 4 on Wednesday? I'm going to go 120 to 110, 120 to 112, somewhere in that neighborhood. I think the Suns win.
Yeah, Suns win. I think they win by less than 10, though. I think it's a close game. I think they probably, it's one of those free throws you're playing the free throw game at the end of the game, kind of a setup. And I more feel that it's 110 is the cap for either team. Like I think it's more of like a 110, 105 kind of game.
All I'll say is, and I was talking to a friend of mine last night about this.
Yeah.
Bet the money line. Do not bet don't bet the spread. Don't bet the over. Bet the money line in this series if you're a gambling man. Giggity says the Dells is worth it if you have kids to take to the water parks. Okay. Well, I mean, do you really want to expose your kids to any of the viruses that are floating around in Wisconsin? I mean,
I'm Shiva, the god of death.
I mean, what if they go up there and they come back like Badger fans?
Ugh. That's rough, bro.
I don't know if I would. Not sure I could do that. Giggity says Suns have lost Game 3 of each series other than Denver. They've been here before and know how to bounce back. They do. I would agree with that. No, I'm not reading. No. Ace, no. And there you go. No. YouTube didn't like your comment, Ace. James Knight says, just pointing out he would have, in your words, he wouldn't have, in your words, embarrassed himself.
Listen,
wait, hang on. Why do Jazz fans feel a need to compare Donovan Mitchell to everybody in the NBA? Like, do you have an inferiority complex? Like, I still have never understood this. I think we talked about this in like February. Donovan Mitchell's one of the best players in the NBA. Why are you comparing him to Devin Booker? Why are you comparing him to anybody else? He is your best player. He is one of the best players in the NBA. He's not in the NBA Finals. So until you put him in the NBA Finals, you have no idea what pressure would do to him.
And by the way, I'd just like to point out,
so short-sighted.
In terms of he wouldn't have embarrassed himself, I would like to just remind everybody that he did play hero ball. He did shoot all those bricks. He did, go whatever it was. I have to pull the box up, but he had bad games, right? Like, I'm just saying that let's not forget. Like, you can say that, yeah, well, Don was never on the bench. Well, he was never on the bench because the Jazz don't have nearly the depth that the Suns have. Don has to play.
I would also remind you that hero ball played a huge role in them losing to the Clippers at times. I mean, when Donovan Mitchell They did to Donovan Mitchell exactly what they did to Devin Booker.
Yeah.
They are going to double and run overs on him to get the ball out of his hands. That's exactly what the Clippers did to Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
And last night, the Suns didn't really have an answer for that. And yeah, anyway, I'm not even going to entertain it. I mean, it's such a short-sighted,
I would agree.
foolish thing to do. Red Heart Norvis says, I'm not here for the Xbox, but I'm here for the content. 100 times better than First Take or Undisputed. Did you see that Stephen A. Smith is making $10 million a year?
I mean, can we just make a charitable contribution to this show for that money? Like,
Lord.
like I don't know. Maybe I'm just way out on the reservation on this whole thing, but I don't understand how a guy like Stephen A. Smith, like he's had a great career, right? He is a whether you love or hate him, he is a predominant black voice in the sports media world.
Yes.
That's his brand. He's built that. He deserves all the credit in the world for that. At the same time, though, I don't sit here and value Stephen A. Smith at $10 million a year. You want to pay the guy $4, maybe $5
million a year.
Like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I just can't get down with 10 for Stephen A. That just doesn't cut it for me.
$10 million. This has not been a good couple of weeks for ESPN. And by the way, this whole Maria Taylor, Rachel Nichols thing now I
think this is just a Rachel Nichols thing, to be honest with you. I think Maria Taylor's past this. Like, I think she's just doing her thing. Meanwhile, Rachel is trying to figure out how exactly she's going to get by it.
Yeah, I don't know what you do, but Stephen A. Smith is making $10 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that is a lot of scratch.
Yes, it is.
That is a lot of scratch.
By the way, we should say thank you for that comment as well.
Yeah, thank you, Norvis. We appreciate you. Jeremy Bolton says, we compare because we're fans. It's sports hate, man. And we want Donovan to be the best player on the planet. We want everyone else to suck. Well, I don't disagree with that.
And you're pissed that the Suns are in the finals and you're not, and you feel like you're better than the Suns. I mean, let's just be honest about it. So I get it.
Jazz fans, you really think you're better? No, the Utah Jazz are not better than the Suns. They're not.
Oh, I'm telling you 100% that Jazz fans believe that they're better than the Suns. Like, without a doubt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's cool.
I see that all the time.
Okay. Yeah, Jeremy Bolton says 100%, Jake. Yup.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't have any doubt that Jazz fans believe that their team at 100% is better than the Suns. They're going to say, hey, we were the number 1 seed. Hey, we were the best team in the NBA. Hey, we don't want to talk about the fact that the Suns beat us and that we didn't beat any of the best teams in the league. Like, it is what it is, man. Like, I get it. But what I'm telling you, and if you've listened to this show for any amount of time, you remember that we told you multiple times on this show that there's no reason to let your fandom outweigh logical and factual thinking. So what I mean by that is when you looked at this NBA season, you should have been saying to yourself, hey, we have a weakness on this team that prevented us from beating the best teams that we faced in the regular season, including the Phoenix Suns. And that weakness played itself out against the Clippers, just like this guy told you it would. So that's what I'm saying. You aren't better than the Suns. You happen to have a better record in the regular season. And I get why that would be tough to swallow.
Yeah. MLB All Star Game or NBA All Star Game?
Yeah, the question you had previously asked me was about the contest. I think the total package, I think still slates towards the NBA because I really like the 3-point contest. The NBA All-Star Game itself tends to be very hit and miss, and most years it's a miss. I think
somebody's going to score 200 points in that game.
Yeah, but like I think back to the LeBron-Kobe game, where that iconic picture with Drake standing in the background came from. It's those kind of moments in the NBA All-Star Game that make it special. So I don't know. I don't think we're going to get that for a little while.
Home run derby or slam dunk contest?
Yeah, this is a tough one because I feel like when it's Zach LaVine versus Aaron Gordon, I'm watching the slam dunk contest all day long, and I would take it twice on Sunday.
Oh.
But these last two, I think it was the last two slam dunk contests where it's a lot of young guys who can just leap. It just didn't have any guts to it.
I love the home run derby. Like I'm looking forward to.
What
Shohei
is the
Ohtani
schedule? When is that? It's this week. Is it tonight?
It's tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks for paying attention.
Yeah, well, that's baseball's issue, right? Like, I follow the teams I want to follow. I know it's All-Star Week, but I'm still sitting here talking about the NBA Finals, which is how the NBA wants it to be.
I would agree with that. Here's the bracket for the Home Run Derby.
Okay.
And we'll see if anybody cares about this.
Okay.
Bracketology.
Bracketology.
I don't know that. All right, Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto from the Nationals,
Yep.
Joey Gallo. Man,
That's going to be fun.
that's exciting.
He's a Texas Ranger, in case anyone cares.
Trevor Story,
Okay.
Matt Olson. He can hit for the A's.
And by the way, before you read the next name, it should be pointed out that this is at Coors Field this year, which is notorious for being a hitter's park. So this particular year is going to be good.
Trey Mancini,
Okay.
Salvador Perez.
Yeah, he ain't going to be long.
No, Pete Alonso from the Mets.
Yeah, he'll be good.
And that's it.
No Bryce?
No Bryce.
Wow.
I'm taking Shohei to win it.
Shohei
He's got an easy uppercut swing. It's Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad pick. I think Pete Alonso will be there too. Pete Alonso has insane power.
Yeah, I'm excited about this.
I feel like, too,
I'm really excited
a talking
about this.
point with the home run derby has to be the fact that finally we don't have, when did Chris Berman stop doing it? What was it, like a couple years ago now?
Yeah, yes.
Once he stopped doing it, I feel like it got better, with all due respect. Like, I think, the whole back thing was a little overplayed.
Yeah, I hope he's not part of it. Yeah, it's unwatchable at that point.
Watch it on mute.
What do you make of this whole gun seizure at Coors Field hotel thing? Now, if you didn't hear this story, this is a serious story, and it is scary as hell. A hotel maid was cleaning a room and found a bunch of weapons, 1,000 rounds of ammo, body armor, long barrel rifles. Like, this was an arsenal of weapons.
Yeah.
She alerted authorities. Authorities seized it, captured a bunch of dudes. And the FBI says they were not targeting the MLB All Star Game. But it's in a hotel, essentially at Coors Field. I mean, to me, the comparisons to Las Vegas, and for those of you who don't remember, when you had a shooter rent an end suite at the Mandalay Bay Hotel, break out the window and commit mass murder at a country music concert across the street. That's terrifying. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, it is terrifying to me that they found this. And I know this is probably a terrible thing to say out loud. I totally get it. How is this not happening more often at sporting events? Like when
these kind of things.
Yeah, terrorist events. Like it's one of the things I'm a bit paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I think about when I go to major sporting events is, I can remember sitting at the World Series in St. Louis thinking to myself, well, what if something happens here?
Infowars.com.
Like I think about that stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't even know that it's a conspiracy theory, but are you surprised there's not more incidents at sporting events?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, it's definitely an opportunity. And you would think with how many sporting events we have every year, I don't know if there's been a count on how many sporting events are held in the United States of America every single year, but it's got to be thousands,
Well, and it's not like it's tough to get in.
No, it's not. It's not. I think, the toughest part would be getting, like, your weapon or, like, whatever you're going to do, getting that item through security, because I think, that's definitely been ratcheted up a little bit, but at the same time, it's possible. But I think about this Colorado thing, and what no one's talking about is that it's not like they'd be shooting into the stadium. What they'd be doing is shooting all the people outside the stadium. That's the easy opportunity from where their suite was. So I don't know, man. I have, the FBI is saying that this wasn't about the All-Star Game. I have real reservations about that.
How could it not be?
Like, what the hell would it be about then?
And one of the guys that was captured and associated with this had left Facebook remarks about how he was going to go out with a big event.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
And that's
you don't
the
think
messed
this
up
is
part.
related?
That's the messed up part. Like, these guys, whether it was the FedEx shooting or, whichever one you want to point to, most of these guys are that's their mindset. Hey, I hate the world and it's some kind of personal thing and I'm going out with a big bang and I'm going to kill a bunch of people and then kill myself and that'll be it. Like, and that's the crappy part, man. And it
really is.
And I think that, obviously, and it's not for this show, but obviously there is a long winding road in terms of a conversation with gun reform and, how we handle that. And I think that these kind of situations, I feel like we're getting better at finding these things. It seems like every day that we hear about, hey, this guy was stopped, or we found this, or we found that.
Guy was pulled over with an armory in his truck.
Yeah, like we're getting better about stopping these things, but at a certain point, when a guy just shows up at a store, there's not much you're going to do about it.
Yeah. Speaking of not much you can do about it.
Yeah.
Your guy, Conor McGregor, broke his ankle, and I don't understand why you were so obsessed and hell-bent on trying to find the video to see it.
You're welcome.
Because you're a guy who generally likes to avoid these gnarly injuries.
Right.
The photo that you're in the video that you looked at show him standing on the bottom of a broken leg. And you're like, oh, that wasn't bad.
It wasn't that bad.
Hey, man,
it wasn't.
Can you pass the
Listen?
Can you pass the salsa, please?
I
need to keep looking at this.
Listen, have we forgotten how gnarly Dak's ankle was?
But do you have to compare them? That was freaking disgusting.
Yes, I do have to compare them if we're having the conversation, bro.
No.
Like, if you go back, and I'm sure you can find it somewhere, dude, you look at what Chris Weidman did to his leg, that's like a gazillion times worse than what Conor did. Like, that was like, hey, leg is pointed 90 degrees the wrong way, dude.
He stood on a broken leg. Like it was folded in an L shape, bro. Like, what are you talking about? And Driftwood, Driftwood and Paulie Max, I don't know what you said. Your comments were hidden. I don't know what that. So sorry about that. Red Heart Norvis says, if you're a terrorist, you won't target those sporting events. Instead, target those in proximity to it. They want those events. They don't want those events stopped in the future. Well, I'm sure that's terrifying. Max says, gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. Scott Zuninga says, Jazz fans just won't let it go.
No, never, dude. Never. They will die on the hill.
We'll come back to Conor McGregor.
They will die on the hill, bro.
Scott Zuninga says, as Jazz fans, we feel that our franchise is better than the Suns franchise. We are in disbelief that the Suns are SONS, are going to win a championship before us. Sad but true. Why is that? Why are you in disbelief? What, you know why you're in disbelief? Well, one, you probably are new to the show, so you didn't get the knowledge bombs that we dropped on you in December.
Like months before it happened.
But anyway. A hated rival of ours once said that fanatic can't be spelled without fan. And I agree with that. Like, you're not, if you think the Suns are better than the Jazz are better than the Suns, you're not looking clearly, Donovan's injury was way worse than Booker's. LOL. Okay. I don't know. What do you mean?
When did
what are you
Book's
talking
injury?
about?
What do you mean? I don't
Conor
understand.
McGregor? Donovan? Well, because Donovan had the ankle thing.
Oh, I see what he's doing.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, all right, let's get back to Conor McGregor in the UFC. I'm not going to look down at the Jazz comments. I'm not doing it. Anyway, point is, Conor McGregor breaks his ankle.
Yeah.
He is sitting in the octagon on the floor, being interviewed by Joe Rogan while his leg is being worked
sitting on the floor next to him, which I thought was hilarious.
And Conor McGregor is going after Poirier's wife.
Yeah.
Oh, she was still in my DMs, calling her a hoe.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so done with this guy. And I get it that Conor is cool and chic and I'm 25. I want to be just like Conor. I get it. We get it. But do you really have to savage the guy's wife? Do you really have to show how low class and ignorant you are after you've broken your leg and he was beating your ass again? Do you really have to like go after the guy's wife? How low, like the guy's just low class.
Yeah.
And it to me, the UFC has to move past Conor McGregor.
Right.
The problem is there's no star.
Mm-hmm.
Most people cannot name another fighter other than Conor McGregor. And so I think part of the problem is you don't have the Chuck Liddell, you don't have the, Randy Couture or like pick the guy.
Tito.
Anderson Silva, Tito Ortiz, Bones Jones. Like you don't have that guy right now.
Yeah.
You don't. You don't have
You don't have
Ronda Rousey. You don't have the draw. So you need Conor McGregor. And I'm just telling you, he's at some point you have to move past him. And he's not a good fighter anymore. The guy cannot fight the way he used to. And this is what happens to guys in the fight game. It's a hard stop.
Yeah.
It's not like a slow descent. It's just over.
Yeah,
right? Like with Chuck Liddell, Chuck got knocked out, it's over.
Yeah.
And I think what you're seeing now is Conor just can't do it anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, I think that the mystique of Conor was built because, his story and who he is and what the public views him as has changed so much. So I think Conor Conor hit such a high level when he had both belts. The reason that was such a huge deal it wasn't really even about the belts. It was that he came up from nothing. He was that story, like this guy who was working his ass off in a, I can't remember what he was doing, but like in his job, and he was training, and they made sacrifices, and
him and his wife.
Yeah, like that whole story. And so it was a feel good, hey, this guy is a blue collar guy who worked his ass off.
If he can do it, I can do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it was so relatable. But then you get to a certain point where, we remember all the press conferences about, who is that guy and all the trash talking and all this stuff. And we were almost okay with that. But I feel like once Khabib came along, that was the beginning of the end for Conor McGregor. You have the throwing the metal fence through Khabib's bus window incident in the building or whatever, and you've got all these issues, and then the Nate Diaz saga comes along, and it was like, all right, we're climbing. Oh, we lost to Khabib, we lost to Nate, now we lost to Dustin. Like, you've lost all these major fights, and I don't really care that he lost, like that he's calling this past loss an illegitimate loss. Dude, you broke your ankle and he beat you. Like, that's just what the fight game's about. So, I think it's really unfortunate that Conor has handled it the way he's handled it, because I think he could have gone out on a really high note.
And I just will go back to what I said previously. I think the UFC needs Conor McGregor.
No doubt.
And I think they're lacking star power. And I think somebody said it. I want to say it was Eric C. said, the UFC with Conor McGregor is where golf is with Tiger.
Exactly.
I mean, without Tiger Woods playing on the PGA Tour and playing in these majors, there's not a whole lot to watch. I mean, the match, I think, was pretty disappointing, even though it was compelling golf. And the way it ended with Bryson the Dickhead winning. I'm sorry. I think it's pronounced DeChambeau. Winning with Sharon Rogers, I think was pretty compelling golf. But I look at Conor McGregor, and this is a guy that I idolized and I loved and I couldn't wait to watch. But when he threw that guardrail through Khabib's bus, that's kind of where I got off the Conor train.
Yeah, and I think that's where everything changed.
Yeah, you could have killed somebody.
Yeah.
And I think going after a guy's wife, when that guy, honestly, Poirier has been pretty classy through the whole thing. Like, Conor broke his leg, and he wished him well and wished his family well. And even after Conor was being an idiot, yelling about how his wife was in my DMs, I mean, he's still saying, I just want Conor to go home to his family. I want to go home to my family. I hope he gets home to his family. Like, all this stuff. And then Conor, after surgery, gets on his Instagram and does it again.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why guys like Conor McGregor, like, he punched an old man in the face in a bar because the guy wouldn't drink his whiskey.
Which I think people have forgotten about, by the way.
Like, and he had Proper 12, which he sold, I think, for $1 billion, and is still their paid spokesperson. And that's the perfect example. Conor McGregor's an incredible businessman by all fronts, right? Like the guy created a whiskey brand and it's worth over $1 billion. He doesn't need to be an idiot. Is there something in the lead up of these fights where you need that spectacular stuff? Like, is there something in the Mayweather pre-fight hype? Yes, totally get it. You broke your leg and you're still calling out the guy's wife? There's something wrong with you, man. Like that, to me, that's why I can't, I'm not going to say root for Conor, because when Conor McGregor wins a UFC fight, it's good for everybody.
Yeah. Everybody wants it. The problem is he's so low cash when he loses. That's the problem.
I can't do it.
Like if he was a classy loser, we wouldn't be having this conversation, but he's not.
Yeah, I can't do it. That's what I would say. Giggity says Jazz fans think McGregor was winning the fight before his leg snapped.
Wow.
Red Heart Norvis says, just like boxing, it's so fast. A great fighter can be shot in an instant. De La Hoya found that out in a bad way. And you know what? I think it's interesting you bring up Oscar De La Hoya's name, because he made a really good point this week. He said, I don't know what to do when I don't have boxing. Like, he falls apart. He becomes an alcoholic. He overeats. Like, he said that this week, that I need fighting. Like, I'm coming back because I need the fight game. Yeah. I think Conor McGregor needs the fight game. There's everybody who thinks he's broke or whatever. Conor's not stupid. Yeah. Okay, like Conor's not stupid.
And he's been broke before.
I have a hard time believing he's broke.
Yeah.
What I think is he needs the spotlight. And so he does this stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just past it. I really am just past it. It's frustrating. It's disappointing.
And we didn't buy the fight, by the way.
We did
I'd
not.
like to point that out too.
But we were with our friend Michael Bergfalk getting a tattoo. I was getting my owl tattoo the other day, and he's a huge MMA fan. Michael Bergfalk at Panther House Tattoo. By the way, he does great work. I don't know. Can you guys see that? Like, he does great work. His line work is amazing. I'm getting a sleeve from him, and he does amazing work. You can find him on Instagram, Michael Bergfalk. But he was saying he's rooting against Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't like Conor McGregor. Like, there were so many people that were happy Conor broke his leg. That tells you, and if he's trying to be a villain, hell, he's a really successful villain.
Yep.
I just don't know. I don't know, man. I struggle with it.
Yeah.
I really struggle with it.
I think the UFC just has to just keep trooping on, man. Just keep trekking on, and hopefully at some point, the Ultimate Fighter series will produce somebody who is, because again, I don't know how many people realize the Ultimate Fighter has produced, most of the stars in the UFC. I mean, you're talking about guys like Kamaru Usman coming from the Ultimate Fighter. So that program has potential to produce talent.
If you look at the last decade in the UFC, I mean, you can go back to Forrest Griffin. There's a lot of talent that's come through the Ultimate Fighter. Dana White's at a real tipping point. I mean, he's got an unbelievable deal with ESPN. They give him an unbelievable pay-per-view platform on ESPN Plus, which, again, not for nothing. If you don't subscribe to ESPN Plus, I'm telling you, like, the inside stuff at ESPN alone is worth it. But ESPN Plus is fabulous. Anyway, here nor there. My point is Dana White needs to find a superstar. And he is really good at being a hit maker. So my guess is sooner than later he will find that guy. A lot of you asking about the Traeger smoker. We're going to get to that in 1 minute. But I do want to bring up this vaccine question, because I think this one hits home, very close to home. You know now that the Delta variant is ravaging the world right now. And in the U.S., we've had 20,000 cases in back-to-back days. That hasn't happened since May. And one of the reasons that this is happening so much, and what doctors and hospitals are saying, is the people dying and getting sick are unvaccinated. Mm-hmm. So the Biden administration has started sending canvassers out to the largely unvaccinated areas of this country. The South, the Plains, places like Mississippi, Louisiana, places where people are not getting vaccines. And they're handing out pamphlets and they're educating people. And they're telling them, hey, there's a lot of information in this pamphlet. By the way, if you want to get vaccinated, tomorrow, 1 o'clock, right down the street, there's a vaccine pop-up. Costs you nothing, free, show up, get vaccinated. Yet a lot of people are saying that that's a violation of people's privacy and it's trespassing. Do you agree with that?
I don't think it's trespassing per se. I think that there's a difference between knocking on someone's door and saying, hey, there's this pandemic going on. We just wanted to give you some information about the vaccines and maybe answer any questions you might have had. Here's, I don't know for a fact that they're doing this, but just as an example, like, hey, here's a little, some paperwork on like the numbers and everything as they stand right now. Like, I think as the federal government, you're fine to provide the people information, give them the information. You, however, have to allow them to make the decision.
Yeah.
And I think that it goes too far when you start walking around like, as usual, Fox News saying, oh, they're walking around sticking people. No, they're not. They're not walking around.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. Fox News had a segment on this, and Fox News said that they were walking up to people's doors with syringes. They were not doing that. They're not doing that.
Yeah.
What they're doing is it's usually two people who are going door to door in zip codes where vaccination rates are low, and they're saying, hey, here's why we're here. Here's some information about the vaccine. And they're trying to engage people in conversations. Hey, what do you think about the vaccine? Why haven't you gotten vaccinated? And they're trying to educate people. And in conjunction with that, they are saying, hey, there's a vaccine center, a pop-up where we're vaccinating people right down the street. And so what they're trying to do is dispel the myths and say, hey, here's the facts. And if you'd like to get vaccinated, it's right down the street. I have no problem with it. I think there is no doubt that the Pfizer vaccine in particular, seems to be the only path to freedom in this country. If you're not vaccinated, I just don't know what you're waiting for. I mean, this Delta variant is ravaging people. And it is all of the things you've heard about coronavirus and worse. It apparently is just, it is really easily transmitted. I'm not playing basketball right now, much to the chagrins of Jake, who I think you would go and play basketball with people who are not vaccinated and have the Delta virus. I would not be doing that.
Well, that's different than.
Yeah,
that's an exaggeration for sure.
Yeah. We were playing pickup for the last month, 6 weeks, and I've stopped playing basketball. I just don't think it's safe. But we went to the gym yesterday, by the way. I would like to pronounce myself fit. Threw up 225 on the bench 5 times. Yep. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Verify that result, Jake?
Yeah, I was there.
Do you even lift?
He was my spotter.
Yeah, I was there.
But that's what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to go and lift in space. Like at Vaza, it was Sunday morning. We made sure that there were not a lot of people around us. We even moved some benches around to make sure that we were lifting in space. Usually during the week, we lift at your condo complex because they have a beautiful gym that's always empty. I think there's safe ways to do it.
Yeah.
But I can't understand people who don't get vaccinated. Like, it's shocking.
Yeah, I just think it's, again, it's just one of those classic issues where everyone has a choice and some people are going to choose to go the other way. And I think that, I certainly don't agree with not being vaccinated. I am vaccinated. I did get the J&J. That's what was available to me, so I got it. And I just think that, at a certain point, you have to live your life. And there is a small part of me that believes that, some of the hype, I think there's a lot of hype in the media about what the COVID, what it can do to you and what it can't do to you. I think that if you just watch mainstream TV news, I don't think that that's necessarily an accurate representation. I think you have to read. No. I think you have to, and that's why I say, I'm not just going to sit here after hearing on CNN that thousands and thousands of people are in the ICU and they're dying and the world's ending. I'm not just going to, I think that CNN definitely paints a very dark picture about what is happening. However, On the flip side, let's not, make any joke or, beat around the bush that, yeah, the variant is serious. I think, if you're not vaccinated, it will get to you, it will find you. And I think that the vaccination, again, as we said with just the regular virus or the Delta virus, if you're vaccinated, it will limit what the vaccine can do to you. And that's what I think is
It
important
will limit what the virus can do to
or
you.
what the virus
Yeah.
can do to you. Yeah. So that's what I think is important to understand. I mean, we're not sitting here saying that, hey, get vaccinated and you're bulletproof. But what we are saying is that get vaccinated and your odds of dying from this or being seriously ill go way down.
Yeah,
So
Driftwood says, "Here we go, brainwash hour on the Monty Show."
listen, man, here's the deal. You can say whatever you want to say. I don't really give a damn if you think that it's brainwashed or not. The facts are that the numbers support that COVID-19 has killed millions of people globally. So if you want to believe that this is not a serious thing, then you can go ahead and take off. I really don't care. This thing has killed millions of people, and if you think that the vaccine is not for you, then that's your right, okay? But I'm not going to sit here and have someone saying that this is brainwash hour when millions of people are dead from this thing and there's 20,000 new cases a day from the Delta variant. I think it's just absolutely, frankly, I think it's foolish, and I think it's an embarrassing take to say that this is brainwash hour. That's what I think of that.
I mean, 4,051,000 people are dead. Like that's
So who's really brainwashed? If 4 million people are dead from COVID, and we're talking about whether you should be vaccinated or not, who's the one that's listening to Tucker? Who's the one that's watching QAnon? Who's the one that most likely, without even having ever met you or talked to you, voted for Donald Trump? Who's that going? Who's that?
Yeah, and the thing is, Driftwood, I welcome your opinion. I mean, but when you just drop in with brainwash hour and you can't back that up, I mean, it is, that's the thing that's frustrating. So, and you can say that CNN paints a dark picture, or that Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, if that's your source for news, I don't think you're getting, unfiltered news.
I just don't think you're coming with a strong take. Well, I mean, what are you coming with? Oh, this is brainwash hour. What are you coming with? Like come with something other than, oh, this is crappy, or Devin Booker sucks. Come with something more than, hey, this sucks. Because that's all you do. And I don't mean to hate on you, bro, but at the end of the day, every single day when we talk about this, you come in here and you say, oh, well, hey, this is brainwash and this is fake news and all this stuff. And it's just so clear to me that you're not reading every single outlook on what's happening in the world. And I will still maintain that if you're just getting your source of news from Fox News or any of the usual sources, you're not getting a well-rounded opinion. Again, look no further than Fox News saying the federal government is walking around to people's doors saying that they're sticking people.
But look, and Driftwood says, I'm your most loyal listener and you're ready to let me walk because I have an opposing view. No, because you don't give the opposing view.
Yeah.
You say things like, oh, it's brainwash hour. Like, it's not that, I mean, you're welcome here every day. But if you're going to have an opinion, you need to at least lay the opinion out.
I'm not going to let you. Here's the deal. You want to know what it is? It's not that I'm ready to let you walk or whatever. We don't make it. We make like $3 on this show, and we get up at 4:45 every day to do it. So I'm not exactly sitting here, desperate for anybody. I love having the conversation though, and that's
Yes.
the part where I feel like you fall short. Don't come in here and say, oh, well, this is brainwash hour, and then expect me, who typically is more willing to call people out for these crappy-ass takes, and expect me not to hold you accountable to that. You want to try and hold us accountable, but then when I call you out for saying, oh, well, you're just saying brainwash hour, you don't want to hear that. Come with more. Give me facts. Give me a backed-up opinion. That's what I'm calling you out for.
Yeah,
That's what I want.
It's definitely frustrating that we've lost the ability to have this conversation.
Yeah.
Because it always turns into Donald Trump, or Donald Trump got vaccinated. Why did he get vaccinated?
And how did he do it? I want to point this out. How did he do it? Last day in office, behind the scenes, and 10 minutes later was on the news ripping people for getting vaccinated. So who's really doing the brainwashing here?
Yet wants credit for developing the vaccines.
Who's really doing the fake news here? Because that's all he does. That's all this Republican Party right now is doing. This Republican Party is not nearly the same Republican Party as when you were growing up. And I wasn't even alive at that point, and I know that for a fact.
It's difficult because we can't share ideas. And when you know you were in trouble when the science isn't the leading authority.
Yeah.
When you can't look at numbers that so clearly say people who are not vaccinated are dying from the coronavirus.
Yeah.
People who are vaccinated are not dying from the coronavirus. It's very black and white.
Yes.
And when you want to dispel science because it doesn't agree with your theory, that's when there's problems. You know, I just don't think it is realistic to believe that you can walk around and ignore the coronavirus because that's just your opinion. Because opinions aren't going to save your life. Science will. And if you will follow the science and the facts, you're going to be in a much better place in this life. Let me read a couple of these. Giggity says, I'd like to hear where Driftwood gets his news.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Giggity also says, Jeremy, don't forget Trump secretly got vaccinated on his way out. Correct. And he also says, come on, man, you're far from the most loyal listener here. You know, Driftwood says, I could give you a better debate if I didn't have to drive to work and text. Let me call in and we'll have a real discussion. Anyway, it is what it is. Let's talk about the Traeger real quick before we get out of here.
Yeah.
We have a Traeger Ironwood 885 smoker, and it's spectacular. So 2 weeks ago, we told you we smoked a brisket, and it turned out really great. Did you finally have the brisket?
Oh, I had the brisket the day we cooked it.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, it was bomb.
But the leftover briskets are really good. We, on Friday night, smoked pork chops. Or Saturday, I guess that was, we smoked pork chops.
Yeah.
We smoked pizza. Mm-hmm. Oh, man.
Friday night was pizza.
Friday night was pizza.
Yeah.
We were originally going to get Costco pizza, raw Costco pizza that, they serve it.
Yeah.
They were out, and they would not make a raw pizza and give it to me. So I went to Papa Murphy's. And I got to tell you, I was shocked at how good the Papa Murphy's pizza was. Mm-hmm. They give it to you raw and uncooked. It's take and bake. And we popped it on the smoker. It was amazing. The smoke taste on top of the pizza was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah, it was impressive.
We got to dial in the stone a little bit. We have a pizza stone that we used. But other than that, I mean, that was, the crust was crunchy. Like, it was awesome. And the day after pizza was just as good. The smoke flavor was still in the day after pizza.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's most impressive about the smoker itself is that, like going into the smoking experience, like, I thought that using a smoker, like, kind of meant that, everything that you were going to make on that was going to be a longer process, like hours on end. But that's just not the case. I mean, it really just depends on what exactly you're making. Like, I mean, we did the pork chops and the whole process from, like, rolling the smoker out of the garage, heating it up, the whole thing was probably an hour. Once the smoker's hot, it's probably like a half hour, so it actually is really efficient. If you think about, like, you could, because those were like how you can get like cutlet, like really thin sliced pork chops, if you will, and then you've got like the actual thicker ones.
The Costco pork chops that are like 17 feet long.
Yeah. So the Costco ones that are really thick, when you're pan frying those take a really long time, and it's hard to get it like really moist on the inside, which is what makes a great pork chop. The smoker did a phenomenal job. I mean, you put those things on 20, 25 minutes tops, and it's good to go.
The barbecue pit stop seasoning, though?
Bomb.
Oh, man.
Bomb.
I mean,
it's the honey barbecue, I think, is the label name of it, but it's amazing.
Chipotle honey barbecue.
Chipotle honey barbecue.
We did veggie kebabs. We've got to dial in the time and temperature on the veggie kebabs.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we cooked them long enough. I had some firm green pepper, but we also did, and we did those in the ovens. My mother-in-law made stuffed mushrooms that were divine. I don't know that there's anything I wouldn't cook on the Traeger.
Yeah, I think the only thing with the Traeger is just learning the best ways to go about cooking things. So, like, as an example, we did like that, the brisket as an example, probably would have wanted like 2 more hours with it, I would say, to really make it like perfect, But even cooking it for like 8 hours, which is what I think we did, we ended up doing like 8 hours or total. It turned out great. But like what happens is you cook everything the first time, then you learn it, and then you're like, okay, next time I'm going to start it earlier, or I'm going to let it go longer, and I'm going to dial this in or that in, or figure out the temps. And I will continue to say specifically with the Ironwood, this 885 model, the app for it is incredible. I mean, it
Yes.
changes the experience, because there have been multiple times now where we've popped whatever item onto the smoker and haven't had to come back for it until we wanted to, or whatever. The point is it brings you that convenience factor.
Absolutely.
That I think separates it from just like your standard grill.
Well, and I also think whitefish we got to do some whitefish next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, like the salmon has been really good twice in a row now.
Yeah.
So I'd love to make some whitefish, like low temp, slow time.
I really want to super smoke something on the lower temp and see like what.
Yeah, to use the super smoke feature on the Traeger smoker, you have to be under 225.
Yeah.
So that's for long, slow cooks.
Yeah.
So pork butts or, tri-tips, brisket.
Yeah.
All those things. Your Thanksgiving turkey would absolutely be on the
Thanksgiving
super
turkey
smoke.
on the Traeger.
Oh man,
my
would be
goodness.
amazing. Giggity says, smoke some pork belly last night. You got to add it to your list to smoke. Everybody says pork belly. Everybody says pork belly.
Okay, what's the difference? And I know I might sound naive, but I really just have no idea. So what would be the difference? Is pork belly just a bigger cut of meat versus like just getting like a whole thing of bacon or something?
Well,
like,
pork belly is where bacon comes from.
Yeah.
And pork belly is one of the fattier, more flavorful parts of the pork, of the pig, and it is when it's done right. Our guy at Smokin' Bones does pork belly.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Okay.
In Bountiful, like that. I mean it is, man. The flavor that you get out of pork belly is unbelievable. It is, it is unbelievable. Driftwood says you have to mop your brisket every 30 to 45 minutes. We did. We were spraying it. I thought our brisket for the first one we ever did turned out great.
Yeah, so that was one of the things. I'm glad he brought that up. So like one of the things that I think we should experiment with is like what you were just saying. So like every 30 to 45 minutes we did like spray water on it to kind of try to keep it moisturized on the outside. But I do think there might be something in using one of those brushes with like some sort of like a sauce or like some
that, and I'd like to try injections. Like if you
that was one of the first things they told us to do at Pit Stop.
Yeah, I really think like organic vegetable broth, or if you're I'm not a big red meat eater, but if you're making steaks or again briskets, you can inject it with beef broth. But if you're making chicken, if you're making pork. That's a longer cook at a lower temperature. If you're injecting that, I also think the rest period on protein is critical.
Huge.
Yeah, you cannot just, and it's funny, my wife even used the lingo the other night. She's like, hey, do you want me to turn the warmer on in the oven in the house so that your pork chops can rest? I was like, yeah, what?
And dude,
actually, I do.
I'm just telling you, I was really impressed with the pork chops. Like, I feel like I'm at a point with the Traeger where I shouldn't be surprised anymore. But it just is like, wow.
Yeah. The wow factor on the pork chops was huge.
Yeah.
I think the wow factor on the salmon, and again, I'm not a salmon guy, but just chewing off a piece of that salmon the other night was great. Gordon Ramsay has a show called Uncharted on Nat Geo, and he went to Iceland in last night's episode, and they are known for the best salmon in the world.
Yeah.
And he ate it raw, which I'm not a huge raw fish guy. Someday I'm going to go to Iceland and I'm going to eat raw salmon right out of the frickin' river because it looked amazing, amazing. And that's one of the other things I'll say about the Traeger before we go, because we do have to go. The Traeger has opened me up more experimental cooking, and it's made me want to try different things. I think fish is something I don't nearly get enough of. I get all my omegas through the Barlean's Omega.
Yeah.
The Super Omega. I should eat more fish. My wife is a huge fish eater. She loves it.
Well, and it's good for you too. I mean, and the balance you end up finding with these different proteins is like red meat typically takes it. There's no doubt that your body has to work harder to absorb it or like to digest
it to break it
down.
down.
But my God, is it good? And then like you look at fish. And you're like, hey, like this has some pretty good health benefits too, and it's it could be, it could be a great thing for the week, like in terms of meal prep. And that's the thing that I'm really excited for with the Traeger. Like I would really like we need to dial in some chicken and some fish for meal prep. We need to figure out how to and what that kind of looks like, whether it's just as basic, breasts or whatever.
Well, and the hard part about chicken for me is Mrs. Monty makes that shredded barbecue chicken in the Instapot. That's tough to beat. For like meal prep, that stuff is amazing.
It is tough to beat.
It is tough to beat. But I'd like to do like a whole chicken on the smoker.
Yeah.
And stuff that thing with like pineapple and onion, and there's a bunch of that you can do. But yeah, I think that the sauce, Tyler on Twitter the other night was saying he makes his sauce with pineapple juice. He buys Dole pineapple juice, and he makes a chipotle pineapple sauce.
That sounds amazing.
That he uses on his tri-tip with a real like heated chipotle rub.
Yeah.
He said you can't beat it. It puts sweet and spice right together, and
we might have to get that from him.
I think we might have to get that from him.
And that's the last thing I feel like we have to kind of conquer and learn is the pregame with the proteins, like the brining and the seasoning and like figuring out.
And a lot of people are anti-brine, which I'm a little surprised about. But
what are they? If they're anti-brine, what are they?
Yeah,
they
I
just
don't
like
know.
throw it on there.
Yeah, I guess. I'm a big believer in marinating and brining stuff.
Yeah.
I am. All right. Make sure you hit subscribe. Give us a thumbs up on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much to everybody who listens to the audio version of this show. Wherever you get a podcast, just search The Monty Show. On Stitcher, iHeartRadio, iTunes, you name it. Spotify, we're there. The show has just exploded on audio podcasts, so thank you so much for that. Until tomorrow, Jake.
Don't.
No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not.
Don't.
I won't. Say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.